Today I'm giving you my best backyard gardening tips and announcing an online live workshop that I will be teaching in the next week. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. My name is Veronica, and on this channel I teach you how to garden and homestead and all of that in a small suburban environment. Alright, so if that sounds good, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Today I am giving you some of my best gardening tips that I have learned over 15 plus years of gardening in my backyard. Alright, multiple gardens now. But before we jump into that, I do want to announce that I am teaching an online live workshop this Saturday, October 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Alright, it is a 90-minute workshop with time for a question and answers live, and it is titled How to Grow 300 Pounds of Food in Your Backyard and in less than 4 hours per week. Alright, that is less time spent on the garden than most people spent watching television. Alright, so if that sounds like you and you are looking to grow tons of food in your backyard, level up your garden, and max out your existing garden space, here is a sneak peek to the workshop. Now, if you haven't been successful with growing your own vegetables and food in your backyard, it's probably because you're not planning and strategizing the best way you possibly can for your garden. The actual planting part of gardening should be the quickest and easiest part of gardening. But this is the part that most people spend the most time on, and that is completely wrong. In this workshop, I am breaking down everything I do to successfully get a huge harvest every season, starting with developing a garden plan and everything that should be in it. So if that sounds like you and you're looking to grow tons of food in your suburban backyard, then go ahead and sign up for the workshop. I will leave the link on the screen here as well as in the description below. It is miniurbanfarm.com/300-pounds-workshop. Again, it's October 1st, 2022, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 90 minutes, give or take some, with a Q&A live. All right, so don't forget to sign up for that. Now on to the best gardening tips I can give you. Alright, so for this tip, we are coming over here to my little miniature greenhouse. Alright, you see all my little plant starts in here. I have some tomatoes back there. I have some salad greens and some broccoli. Now, I want to focus on this little guy right here. This is broccoli, alright, but it is a specific type of broccoli that is really heat resistant and does really well in the heat. Alright, I do have to come out here and start separating them out or snipping them, thinning them out, but this really does well in the heat. However, I have seen broccoli being sold at the garden center, in my local nurseries, alright, at the big box stores, all of those places. I have seen them selling broccoli, alright, and not a specific heat resistant type of broccoli, just regular broccoli that likes cool weather. I have seen them selling it at the garden center, I've seen it at local nurseries, alright, and I have seen it in the middle of summer. Alright, if you don't know better, alright, if you're not familiar with growing broccoli at all, you would think that because they're selling it in the garden center, then you can just take it and put it in your garden and you'll have tons of broccoli. But that is not the truth at all, alright? You want to do your research, right? Everything that goes into your garden, you should know exactly how it grows, when it grows, the temperatures it likes, all of that stuff. Do not rely on your garden center. Please, please, please do not just go to your local nursery and pick up a whole bunch of things, transplant little seedlings into your garden that you're not familiar with, because there's a good chance that they might not survive, and then you will think it's your fault that you have a brown thumb or something like that, and that is not the truth at all, alright? You have to do your research, know your hardiness zone, know the type of things that you're planting out, and get the type of plants that are formulated to grow in your area, alright? That is my biggest gardening tip that I can give you, and something I know I've done in the past, or a huge mistake I've made when I started gardening, and something that I see tons of gardeners at any experience level do this as well. So please make sure you know what's going in your garden and that it has a good chance of surviving before you put it in. Okay, so over here at my seed starting table, this is the next tip that I want to share with you guys, and it is about seed starting soil. Alright, this is my seed starting soil. You can see, right, I have an entire container worth of it. I've been using it non-stop, so I probably have to refill it soon. But you can see this is nice and light and fluffy. Alright, this seed starting soil is a specific mix, alright? I use 1/3 compost, 1/3 perlite, and 1/3 peat moss. You can see it has kind of like that brown reddish color from the peat moss. You can definitely substitute for coco coir for a more sustainable option, but that's generally what I use. And then you can see the nice rich organic matter, and then a lot of these little white perlite pieces. All right, now what happens, all right, when you're starting your seeds is if you plant out these little baby seeds in something that looks like this, all right, it is straight compost, all right, cow manure, organic compost, or some sort of topsoil, all right, that, you know, you're not sure exactly if it's for seed starting or all organic, all purpose, whatever it is, all right. If you're not sure that it's specifically formulated for seed starting, or if you didn't make it yourself, all right, like I do, then there's less of a probability that your seeds will germinate. Now, you might be thinking, why would I do peat moss and perlite and all these other things in here, all right, when plants need compost and organic matter in order to actually grow and all the nutrients and everything? Now, that is 100% true. However, most seeds actually contain enough nutrients and, you know, whatever inside of them that they need to do well for the first week or so of their life, that they don't really need anything else, all right? You don't have to give them compost in order for them to germinate. They have the nutrients that they need, which is why you can actually germinate seeds in a little plastic bag with only a paper towel and some water, all right, because they don't actually need all of that compost in order to germinate. You want seed starting soil that is light and fluffy, all right, and I'm telling you guys this because when I first started gardening, I only gardened with transplants. It was just significantly easier, and I was terrified of starting seeds. When I finally did start my own seeds, a lot of them did not germinate. And when they did germinate, they would take forever. And I went through a couple seasons like this with less things germinating than I would really like, all right? And I kind of started figuring something was wrong. I was doing something wrong, and I definitely was. I was not using seed starting soil that was specifically formulated for starting seeds in. You want something that is light and fluffy, something that the little baby seedlings, all right, think of how small these things are. You're going to want something that they can actually push their way up through the soil and then start nourishing them and, you know, giving them compost. So we put compost in the seed starting soil so that they can actually have some nutrients when they are ready for it. But you need the peat moss in there and the perlite to retain the water and make sure that the soil is fluffy and that the roots have enough room and enough air to actually grow and make their way up into the world. Okay, so over here at my seed starting box, all right, I have all my seeds all divided up, right? I'm gonna have to get a new box here because definitely things are starting to not fit in here. But I wanna show you guys, all right, something that I found really was actually not helpful when I started seeds, when I was, you know, first started trying to start my own seeds. And that is on the back of the seed packet here. And I'll just move this out of our way. All right, on the back of the seed packet here, you're gonna find a little outdoor map, right? The outdoor sown map. And some ants, but you're gonna find this little map, all right, which is kind of telling you when it is that you can start seeds, all right, depending on where you are. So for us, we're in Florida, all right, kind of central Florida, all right, but you're talking about like over here, that's Washington and Oregon, all right, is all orange, and they're saying January through April, all right, and August through November. Now, sure, these little corn salad seeds might germinate, all right, and they might do well if you plant them out and, you know, pray for the best. But if you follow this to the T, it is likely not going to do very well, all right, because there is a huge difference in my zone between August and November. In August, we're still like 100 degrees or 95 degrees. In November, we might be in the 60s, all right? The same thing with all of these other zones, all right? There's a huge discrepancy between some of these. I know in January, for instance, over here, January is still quite cold here versus April is like 75, 80 degrees out here. The same thing over here for these radishes, all right? These are some beautiful salad rose radishes from Burpee. We have the little table back here as well, which a lot of seed packets have some version of this little map, and it says August through November, all right? August is not the right time to plant radishes if you live in my zone. All right, I'm telling you, I have planted out radishes in August when I first started. All right, I actually used this in August. I planted out some radishes and they did not do very well, which is because it did not get cold enough, all right, by the time that these radishes were, you know, actually trying to grow. And radishes are very quick growing, so in a few weeks, right, they were ready to sprout, but it was still 95 degrees outside, All right, so while you do want to use some of the information on the back of the seed packet, right, it does tell you, after danger of frost in early spring sort of thing. It tells you, maybe late summer for a fall crop. That is generic information that is not going to apply to my zone. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of different things in here. Now, all of the same thing here, right? 35 days to harvest, plant them 1/2 inch deep, 2 inches thin. So while that is good information to have, all right, and you definitely have some more information on the backs of different seed packets, right? So this is mustard, all right. This specific here, right, like the last one with that that little right column, all right, you have a whole bunch of stuff like this: ideal temperature, the days to sprouting, planting depth, frost hardy, things like that. All right, while that is good information to have, I would never trust that if I really want to grow this. All right, I have grown this, so I can tell you that this is pretty accurate. For the most part, it does do pretty well in warm weather also. But if you really want to get a harvest, do your research and do not trust what the back of these seed packets say. All right, they are aiming to be helpful, they are generic and general, but if you really want to get a good crop, do your research first. Now, my next tip for you guys is to set up some sort of irrigation system. All right, you can see I have my drip lines here. I have my main line going across, and I have some little lines here. I also have some little emitter systems and little sprinkler micro sprayers, all right there, that spray some water. Now, the best thing that I can give you, all right, as far as irrigation system, is it doesn't have to be this extensive, all right? It can definitely be just a little sprinkler system like this one over here. This one is just basically hooked up to the garden hose, all right? It has a little stake in the ground here. We just have it set up over here to kind of like water the lawn from now on. But this is actually what we were using for a while, and you can see it has like a fan setting, a jet setting, stuff like that. All right, but you just turn it on, right? You turn it off, you can hook it up to a timer. This was, I don't know, maybe like 10 or 15 bucks at the garden center. I will leave one very similar in the description below if you don't want to have an entire system like the one I have. But I used this for quite a while, and it did very, very well, and I didn't have to water the garden. And for the first multiple years, all right, the majority of my gardening journey, I have been hand watering my plants. It has not been until the last couple of years that I'm actually using a drip irrigation system or some sort of a sprinkler system, but for the most part, I manually water my plants, which is fine, all right? You can definitely have a successful garden like that. It's just gonna take up more time because depending on the size of your garden, you're gonna have to come in here and actually physically water your plants. And sometimes you might even need to do that up to twice a day, all right, depending on your climate and the kind of things that you're actually trying to grow. Now, when I set up my drip irrigation system, I will tell you, I thought it was just going to be you set it up and you forget it and everything works out fine. And that is not the truth. Even if you have a drip irrigation system, you still have to monitor your plants. You still have to adjust the water settings at times. You know, if it rains, if there's like a hurricane coming towards us, like there is now, the plants probably don't need as much water. And the same thing as your plants grow, you'll probably need to adjust the amount of water that your plants are getting with the drip irrigation system, even if it's on a timer. You know, it is not a one and done thing that you can just set it up and forget it, but it saves you so much time from coming out here and manually watering your plants every single day. All right, if I'm sick, if I have a work meeting early in the morning, or if I just simply don't feel like getting out of bed at 7 o'clock in the morning, then your watering system does it for you. It's on a timer. Even if it's just a cheap little system, it works perfectly fine. Just set something up and it will definitely save you headaches down the road. Alright, so my next tip is something that I would definitely encourage you to take very seriously because I did not take it very seriously and I have learned the hard way, alright? I am overlaying some footage here of some pests that I have seen in my garden in the past several seasons, alright? And if you see pests of any sort, alright, if you're not familiar with that kind of pest, all right, if you think it's a bad pest, right, it's not a beneficial pest, look it up, do some research, but do it quickly, all right, would be my best tip. When you see pests in your garden of any sort and you're not sure what it is, act fast. Now, there have been several times where I say, oh, there's 1 or 2 cutworms or 1 or 2 insects or 1 or 2 aphids or whatever it is, all right? And I'm like, I'll take care of that later. I have to go to the garden center. I have to get diatomaceous earth or BT or neem oil or whatever it is. I don't have it on hand. I'll figure it out this weekend. No, please don't do that because pests spread extraordinarily fast, and there have been multiple situations, all right, through my own fault, there have been multiple situations where I come back a couple days later and half my stuff is gone, all right? They've destroyed my kale or they've cut down seedlings or, whatever it is just gone. The infestation has taken over and there is no coming back because the plants are gone, all right? They're completely chewed through, and then it is much harder to get rid of them, all right, rid of the pests, because you just kind of like let them spread everywhere. Do not do this. When you see pests of any sort that you're not sure of, look them up. Some pests are beneficial. All right, some pests are beneficial, all right? There are some insects that do help the garden. Like if you see a whole bunch of ladybugs, amazing, leave them alone, all right? And there can be multiple different types of ladybugs. It doesn't have to just look like the quintessential little red ladybug with black spots on it, all right? There can be multiple different ladybugs, and you might even see ladybugs, you know, when they're small and, you know, growing up, all right, they do not look like ladybugs. So make sure that whatever it is, you do your research, go online, check out some different articles, you know, is it a beneficial pest? Is it, you know, predatory? Does it eat other pests that you don't want in your garden? Things like that. But if you're determining that it is a bad thing to have in your garden, act quickly, get rid of it as soon as you possibly can, because it'll likely destroy your crops, and then there's no coming back from that. And I would like you guys to not have to learn that one the hard way. Now, I do have one more bonus tip for you guys, all right, and it is actually a tip on how to max out your entire garden, all right? Use multiple different gardening strategies, not just one type, you know, use square foot gardening, companion planting, vertical gardening. Use a whole bunch of different types of gardening methods until you get to the right one for your garden to max out your gardening space. If you want to see how I max out my gardening space, all right, I will leave that video somewhere on the screen here. Don't forget to sign up for the workshop, how to grow 300 pounds of food in your backyard in less than 4 hours per week. I will leave the link in the description bar below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.